Welcome, Reanimated fans, to this week's episode. I am H.A. Conrad, coming to you sort of live from the Brooklyns, where we did not suffer a blackout last night, unlike some major parts of Manhattan. All coming to you from the West Coast is my intrepid co-host, Stuart Tiffin. Hello, Stuart.
Yo, hey, yeah, I saw that. Manhattan, in the dark, Broadway, performers in the streets.
Performing live, yeah.
Were they doing impromptu performances?
They were doing some numbers, I think, because they felt bad. Because I mean, that's gotta you know, especially on a weekend. Usually, people who have gotten those tickets have waited forever to go and see those shows. So I think that I don't know what they will do to make it up, but it was pretty weird. I am just very happy I wasn't part of it because I guess there was a lot of people stuck on subway trains and stuff. For hours, and I'm sort of like, you know, watching and hoping that they got everybody out of elevators and that kind of thing, because, you know, especially if you're like working in Midtown and it's just sort of the wasteland that it is on the weekends. Like, I don't, like, in the past when this stuff has happened, they'd find people like days later that were stuck in elevators that they didn't know about, and I'm like, oh god, I hope that didn't happen. But anyway, we came back on. It seems like everything's running smoothly again, but that seems like it was pretty scary. So, but Brooklyn was unaffected, thankfully. But no mayhem as far as it seems. So, good. Citizens were out directing traffic, you know, and so, you know, a nice little segue into our first news item, which is we talked about this before, but it was like the safest place to be when a zombie apocalypse might occur, according to statistics. And this is like a modeling that people did. And I mean, let's be honest with you, like this is not actually about a zombie apocalypse. This is about other stuff, like if there was a pandemic or something like that, I would imagine. But they're doing it in a way to make it a little less scary, I suppose. But I mean, without surprise, New York City is not the best place to be during something like this because there's just so many people.
You want to be in Montana or Canada is the gist of this. Yep. And actually, we might have talked about this exact research before because this article was even published in 2015. But it felt, I don't know, maybe just senility is kicking in and I didn't remember it specifically. But yeah, it's actually written admirably, not very much like a listicle, which kind of does bother me. But there are a lot of embedded links which do also kind of wear me out. So I'm like, wait, you want me to go away from your article how many times while I'm reading it?
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so just go to places where there aren't a lot of people. That's really the gist of it.
Yep. And, you know, and I mean, look, I think part of why this is, you know, coming up, especially if you're talking about different things, and I'm sure, I mean, this scares the pants out of me, but there have been numerous articles in the last week or so about antibiotic resistance to different strains of a variety of horrible things. So I think maybe that's why some of this stuff is sort of churning up again, because it's obviously things that people are thinking about. But anyway, all right, but on to fictional things that are a little bit more exciting or a little less scary. I guess it's a bit way to put it.
The Walking Dead's new spinoff show is getting they're trickling out the information just like they did with Fear the Walking Dead initially, right? Mm-hmm. And what we know about this one, it's going to be a YA, and they've cast 3 YAs, so to speak, to go into it.
Yeah, and this is supposed to be next gen, and I think it's supposed to speak to maybe a younger audience, and they're just kind of trying to continue those stories and maybe do something a little different and from a different perspective than our original band of Mary Walker resistors. So yeah, it looks, I mean, well, of course we're going to watch it. And I'm curious to see what happens with it. I think key to this would be how they write the show and the storytelling. I think that there are different levels of success with how this show treats younger survivors. I don't know what you think, Stuart, but I don't think they fully get that particular demographic, and the way that some of those characters are portrayed, I think it's kind of somewhat annoying. I'm looking at you, Carl. Enid.
Looking at I'm looking at Anna from
Anna,
the leader of the kids.
Yep. So
Enid was okay. She was just kind of a sullen teenager. I got that vibe.
Yeah, but they did like weird. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. And I mean, we thought well, we'll talk more about this I think after our recaps. But in any case, that I'm curious to see what they do with it. But of course, we're going to watch it and see what happens.
Yeah. So the three that they've cast so far are relative unknowns. It's Alexa Mansour, Nicholas Cantu, and Hal Cumpston. Mm-hmm. I haven't looked at their Wikipedia pages to see how old they are, but they look like teenagers.
They're pretty young. They're pretty young.
Or even Nicholas, I think, is even younger than that.
Yeah.
The showrunner has been identified as Matt Negrete, whose name we know from covering umpteen Walking Dead episodes. He's a regular director and maybe even writer. And then he has to report to the Overlord, Gimple. But I think, I'm just going to keep watching for more announcements. I assume there aren't going to be any real, or maybe the known elements will be few and far between. And what we do know about this whole series, HA, also, is that they're not afraid, in the wake of Fear the Walking Dead, to blow up their entire original vision and build it back from scratch, or with whatever building blocks that they've added along the way, and throw some more at it. So
Yep. It's true. But before we move on from this, just a quick note, because I'm sure others have noticed this, but Robert Kirkman actually ended the Walking Dead comic series suddenly, and, a little bit to the surprise of some fans. And I think it will be interesting to see what happens with the show, because the ending that he came up with is just not possible with the show. Because, for example... and again, spoiler alert. So if you are reading the comics and haven't gotten here and you want to be spoiled, stop listening. But he does kill Rick Grimes in the comics, and Carl is still alive, and he's alive to the end. So these are things that cannot happen, obviously, on the show. But maybe some of the characters on the show could be surrogates for what happens. But in any case, I think he... maybe had a vision and just felt like he wanted to just come to the end, and it's been going on a really long time. So I'm wondering what happens with the show, and if they pivot to try to I don't know, sort of reflect some of this later on. But my guess is they've diverged so far from a lot of the storylines, or they've merged certain things, that maybe that's not what's going to happen. But it is interesting to see that that's his ending. And of course, I'm thinking also of Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin, who basically has said that he's still writing, and he's still writing to the end of it, and it may not be what we saw in the ending on the TV show. But I'm not really holding out hope for that particular ending, because it's been years, and I just think he's really suffering from writer's block and a lot of other
it's the opposite
pressures.
Of writer's block.
True.
It's that thing that Michael Douglas had in The Boys, where he had writer's diarrhea or whatever. He couldn't stop writing his novel. And another thing on the topic of Martin is that some details of the prequels have come out, which will include, by the way, White Walkers and direwolves and Starks for just really the first one is all we need to talk about it on our show. So looking forward to that. I don't care. I'm going to go back to the world of knights and occasional dragons. Of course we are. That's just not up for debate.
But in any case, I wait to see what happens with that. And another tidbit of news that came up is that Zack Snyder's it's a Netflix series, Army of the Dead. We talked about it very briefly before, and they are casting apparently in Atlantic City, and the description is pretty funny, because they're like, we want to cast extras as zombies. You have to be okay with like blood and corpses, and who isn't, I guess. But if you're not into that, they're also apparently casting male exotic dancers or something like that. So Stuart, I really think that you need to come out and audition for that particular role.
I'm buying tickets to Jersey as we speak.
Sweet. Last up, do you want to jump into the last thing?
Yeah, man, Stranger Things. And HA, you haven't finished it yet, so I can't sing the song.
I haven't, but I mean, I have to say I have been enjoying this season a lot. It's a lot more horror this particular season, or at least that's what I feel like. And they are giving just so many little homages to various things. Romero definitely gets one.
Oh yeah,
and
beautiful, right in the pilot,
right in the beginning. And so that's pretty cool. And I mean, I think that's they're making a very specific statement, and also there's so much related to like surrounding a mall in this. I don't know. It's. I've been enjoying what I've seen so far. I'm about halfway through, and we'll wrap it up. Part of why I haven't finished watching is because I promised my husband I would wait to watch it with him, and he was traveling. So, but we will get there. But one of the big features in this particular season are, I guess, zombie-like characters. I can give them that.
I mean, it's definitely Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and
then definitely
you mix in some other behavior. Honestly, the roots are all over the place on this, and that's good. That's a good thing. They're not being super derivative. Yeah, it's a great season, and there's just moments that make you want to stand up and cheer.
Yep. No, it's good. And I really like this cast. I didn't know what to expect. I've been a big fan of this show, so I'm really I'm enjoying everything about this so far anyway. So hopefully that will continue. And also, Carrie Elways, man. Good to see that guy back.
I did not recognize him for the first several scenes he was on screen. I was like, wait, that guy looks familiar, but really, man.
Yeah. And I feel like, I don't know, because Winona Ryder's character was a little streaky in the last couple of seasons, and
they've toned her down.
She's been very much toned down, and I like it a lot. I think it's great, but also I just feel like all the kids is kind of funny because they'll do some flashbacks from the previous seasons, and it's like, oh my gosh, they were such babies when this first started, right? And
Will is taller than Winona Ryder now.
I know, it's so funny. But anyway, we'll talk a little bit more maybe, or maybe we don't need to, but this has been a really fun ride so far. So, but what has not been a fun ride? No.
Oh, come on now.
No. Okay. So we, today, of course, are talking about, Fear the Walking Dead season 5. We're going to do, some recaps / reviews of, episodes, 5 and 6, the end of everything and the Little Prince. And what I'm alluding to is that the end of everything is in Al episode. So why don't we jump into it? And feet first and see where it goes.
All right, let's talk highlights. Highlights are introduction of a new character, a little bit of description of this new faction of people with weird clothes. Al gets her groove on with what's the new girl's name again?
Well, it's Isabella, but she's called Happy,
right?
As a sort of ironic thing. But Isabella, but why don't we just call her Isabella? I guess just to make it easy. But basically, as just to remind folks, Al went out alone in the rain with no backup and just doing her weird videotaping thing to go and figure out what that guy in the body armor was all about. And she got kidnapped basically, and she was kidnapped by Isabella.
Yeah. And this is also where the biggest plot hole for this episode for me comes in.
Yep.
The entire episode after this first scene revolves around Isabella chasing and Al to get this tape of the footage she took of the guy's maps out in the rain, the thing that we were hating on so much a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
But so why doesn't she just kill her? Why doesn't she kill Al right away? She tases her.
She tases her and could have taken the tape then, right?
Could have taken the tape, killed the witness, which was also her job. She knew she had to kill this person.
Right.
By the end of the episode,
this is very strange. This is just very strange.
Some of this is like in hindsight. I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. Why didn't she just kill the witness and take the evidence? Instead, she just tases the witness, leaves the evidence next to it, and then like goes off and does another task. And then Al is able to escape because Al's fairly tricksy.
Yeah, I guess so. She's not that tricksy. But anyway, there's a lot in this that like, there's a lot of like back and forth between them where Isabella's like, oh, well, I've been through so much. You have to wear your body armor. And then Al's like, I won't wear the body armor. And then she puts on the body armor and then she gets saved from a zombie bite or a walker bite. And it's just like, there's a lot of song and dance here that just seems unnecessary to me. I don't like, and maybe I'm just being judgmental, and I'm a little, this is just, clearly Al is not my favorite character, and her storyline doesn't make sense to me. And even in this episode where they try to make a bit of sense of her storyline, to me, the payoff still doesn't make sense.
I think the payoff is good because effectively,
I don't know, man.
No, the payoff is I'm going to stop talking about videos so much and stories and how, and be more of a person. Like, that's really the payoff.
Maybe that's the payoff, but that also remains to be seen.
I know. And you're right, because everything to get to that point is still more, not everything, but she's like still making stupid decisions with where it comes to cameras and footage. And then we get to watch some of the first footage she did during the initial outbreak or whatever. And it's not good.
No.
It's not good. This isn't good content for a stand-up. She's sitting in a dark room talking about what's happening outside.
Nope. Yep. It's just really insane. And let's also talk about her wily hiding on a walker tape thing, and that's not the tape that you think it is. And there's just a lot of like really sort of annoying things like that happen throughout this, where once, I agree with you, like once it got to the point where it was very clear that she was going to have to kill Al, that was her mission, I was just like, well, none of this makes any sense at all. I just don't understand why she even left Al alive. This doesn't make sense. So I guess part of it's to build up the Al character, to get to that payoff, also to build up the relationship between these two women, and to give you a little bit of insight. Not like they keep hinting at it, but the group that Isabella is a part of, the mysterious helicopter group, the mysterious body armor group. So she talks a lot about that, in like mysterious tones, like, what we're doing is so much more important now. And there are just a lot of statements like that don't actually tell you anything. We do learn that Isabella had a partner who, once the partner Beckett saw what happened with the radiation walkers, was like, oh no, I'm gonna like give up this mission and I can't do this anymore. And basically Isabella did take duty very seriously and killed him. So I don't know, like, and they're definitely, I should mention, they're building up a romance between them. There's definitely a romantic something there.
I mean, there is in the last 10 minutes of the episode, but most of the earlier parts, it's kind of combative. It's like Happy or Isabel yelling at Al for being dumb, or telling her to put a jacket on, or it's. I mean, maybe that's how relationships begin, and I'm just.
Well, I think that's how they think relationships begin. So I would agree with you that wasn't abundantly clear, I think.
But then they have the campfire moment, and you're like, okay, yeah, there's something here, and then they do capitalize on that, but not until the next day.
Right. I think, the thing that is so incredibly frustrating to me about this is that, both of these characters just seem to like talk around things and just don't, and I mean, to me, this is a fault of the writers, and it's pretty sloppy in terms of storytelling, and it's just frustrating to watch.
Well, what's an example? Do you remember any of the dialogue that pissed you off?
God, I mean, honestly, the whole thing about her putting on the stuff, and then like the whole thing with the landslide, and then the walker, and then Isabella's like, see, that's why you need to wear your jacket. Like,
and at the same time, Al is like, I never stay in the car. That rule has kept me alive for years.
Right. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? This is freaking stupid. Anyway, so that's kind of the I found this to be so tedious. I had to basically pause it, and come back to it several times. So it took me a while to get through it.
I like the mountain climbing sequence. I thought that was pretty cool. And then Al gets to do some risky jumps, although it did look a little CGI when they would do some of those looking down the cliffs shots. It just looked like the cliff went on forever, like it was in a fantasy movie or something. And it could have just been 40 feet. Like that would have been that. It doesn't have to be super high for us to get it.
Yeah, because it's dangerous no matter, even if it's not that crazy of a climb. But and then the other frustrating thing I have is that, so Isabel's part of this group. She talks about how important they're going to rebuild society or whatever, why that's so much more important. And it's like, well, if you're going to do that, you kind of have to have people to do that, right? So just even the way they're going about things feels really stupid to me.
Wow. I mean, we don't know enough to really judge it.
True, but let's just, anyway. Well, I guess we have to wait to find out more, but that was just one part that, and just the back and forth with the two of them that I found so, oh, I'm going to kill you. Oh, don't, that back and forth was so crazy. And of course, ultimately, a spoiler, guys, Isabella does not kill Al because Al promises to keep her secret. Does this remind you of anything by any chance?
Should it? Oh, I'm blanking. What is it? What should it remind me of?
Well, remember The Walking Dead when Oceanside makes Tara promise not to say anything, and that really doesn't work out so well for them. Not that I feel like the Oceanside community is a lot more sympathetic than whatever this group is, but I'm just saying it felt a little like deja vu to me.
It's sure starting to feel like Walking Dead universe gives these sorts of secrets to lesbians.
Well, that too.
And then they are not able to keep them. That doesn't seem cool.
Right. Well, maybe we'll see, because so far, at least at this point, Al is keeping her promise, but makes up a really lame story to Morgan and Alicia about not telling, like, she
just
kind of
running away from zombies for 3 days.
I was just running away. Nothing was there. Nothing to see here. And come on. I mean, somebody's got to be suspicious about this story.
Because you can walkie and walk at the same time. That's why they're called walkies.
Right. Oh, God, the walkies.
Well, that's how she gets back in touch. And then at the end, she's also like, she says her last name, which is a double barrel Polish name, apparently, but I couldn't pick it up either.
I couldn't either. I slowed it down. I couldn't get it. Anyway, it's an unpronounceable name, at least, or I don't know how to. I even did the subtitles were not helpful either, by the way, on that point. But maybe we will see a different Al now that she's been through this journey and has put her weird stories to rest. But
we kind of do in the next episode, I guess.
Kind of.
She doesn't talk about her camera at all.
Nope, for once. So, but however, we've replaced all the talk about the camera. I'm not just referring to Al here, to talk about props and engines and goodness gracious. Anyway, so next up, are we okay finishing? With the other?
I'm good. I mean, that was it's a small episode. I'll be frank. I had a good feeling out of this episode. I was happy with. I like the little episodes, right? The ones with a small cast where they can just focus on character development.
Generally, I do.
They were focusing on the development of a character who I don't particularly like, but I think they're trying to push her in a way, in a direction where I will like her more. And so I come out of this with an overall positive vibe.
I am still skeptical, but I agree. And maybe they know how annoying she is, and they're trying to like turn her into something else, which I would be all on board with. And I like this actor, so I really hope that they get there. And Liam Neeson might show up for a cameo or something. I don't know.
Are they related?
No, remember she was in Taken. She's his daughter in Taken.
Oh, no, I don't remember that. I look at her and I just see Lost every time I look at her face.
Yeah, that was her original most annoying character, so it doesn't bode well, right?
It's a very different kind of character, though. That's
still annoying.
Yeah, okay.
Still annoying.
Fair enough. So The Little Prince.
Yes, The Little Prince, next up, is all about planes, trains, and automobiles.
This book has gotten so much play in this series. You wonder if there's some sort of royalties thing going on between them and...
I know. It's kind of like... And then the kids are quoting it, and it's just like, okay. But anyway... Morgan and his band of children warriors and, Lucy and Alicia and them, they bring the wreckage of their plane back to the big truck stop. And the idea is that they're going to repair it. Let's just talk about the implausibility of so much of this, because it's like, how did all these people become expert mechanics? I mean, we haven't really seen anything that has told us that anybody has this expertise, right?
No. Other than Al is good at, like, welding things onto top of SWAT
other
trucks.
Things, yeah.
Like, she's apparently a journalist first, a welder second. And she's got some technical skills, but nobody else does, as far as we can tell. Maybe Mo, or not Mo. I always call her by the actor's name. Sarah might also be slightly technical. but I don't remember what Morgan did for a living. Do you recall what his job was before?
You know what? I don't remember. But so maybe we're totally wrong. Now we're gonna be like called out on it. But anyway, but the expertise of like fixing, like you have to have like a specific expertise to fix a plane, and this plane is really wrecked. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, it barely even it looks like from a kit when they truck it into the. I wasn't a huge fan of the scene either with the like inspirational talk and the grown-ups on one side and the kids on the other and the airplane parts behind them. Like, we've already done the impossible, so of course we can build an airplane. It's like, that's not how building planes works.
No.
Just because you've done other hard things.
Right.
Sorry. Also, we have all the kids are like just basically by themselves at the gas station, and so however things were resolved with Alicia and Morgan out in the woods with the kids when Anna twisted her ankle, all the kids have come back to the gas station, and so that's kind of where we're at with that cast.
Yep.
But and things seem okay, right? Like the kids are enjoying watching cartoons. Annie takes a shower or at least brushes her hair.
Yep.
And so she doesn't look like a fish show participant anymore.
A survivor of some fish tour. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, then they do open up a little bit, so
they seem happy, right? Like everything seems cool. Mm-hmm. And then I get annoyed by this episode when by the end of the episode the kids are once again like, we don't trust you again. And
and it doesn't seem clear to me why that happened. Like, I mean, other than they weren't successful obviously, because they can't fix the damn plane.
I think there are two reasons. They failed to fix the plane, and then they also recognize that Grace is from the power plant.
Correct.
That is the reason why their parents died, or the power plant is the evil.
Yeah.
But it's still like this rubber banding, and I'm not there for that. I don't want to be there for that.
Yep. And anyway, and then aside from the not being able to fix the propeller, and there is like a dramatic thing where like one of them get like flies off or something, and
why can't Al just shut down the engine when that starts happening?
Right. It's like, okay,
you
clearly.
hear a rattling sound in your engine? Turn it off.
Keep it going.
Don't just look at it.
I know. So that was annoying. And then, it's also like, okay, so even the Grace sort of piece of this, so she suddenly contacts Morgan and is like, oh, things are, like, how does she know he's even still in the area?
He radioed her first.
I know, but okay, but how does she know? Like, all it's like, oh well, like let's get that generator to hold things off. What does all of this stuff is just a little too not easy, but a little too like fly by the seat of your pants.
It's all held together by the duct tape of walkie-talkies too.
Yes, so. Again, the walkie-talkies. And so anyway, this is just a little ridiculous.
This episode I liked less than the Al Isabel episode for sure, just because of the unlikely elements of we're building an airplane. They get together with Charlie and Strand on the radio to tell them what parts they need and like to read like Sarah is going under the engines and talking them through like this is what you need in an engine, even though these two airplanes. Right. Pretty dissimilar.
And also, it's like, if you're looking at it, you've never looked at that before. How do you even know what you're really looking at? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a little bit, again, ridiculous, but okay, fine, guys. And, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody just with the storyline between Grace and Morgan. We knew that they were going to, like, at some point reunite, which they did. And Morgan also has that self-sacrificial thing going on, but Grace more so. She's already committed to it. She's already probably taken in enough radiation that she knows she's not going to make it out, and she's just trying to sort of keep things together. But again, that's kind of weird too, because, other than the kids, like, I mean, I guess she feels guilty because of the stuff with the power plant and all that, but, the storyline between her and Morgan, and she's not going to let Morgan sacrifice himself. I don't know. It's like, who can be a bigger martyr? Yeah. It was a little trying to me. So
there's a fair amount of playing with the idea of his stick too, like where he trades in his PVC pipe for a mop handle.
Mm-hmm. That's
and then
funny.
He finds his original stick in the back of her truck wrapped in plastic, and then he's like, I don't need this. This is just a thing. So they're really working on that. I'm kind of glad they are, because that stick was important to the fans, I feel like, and to Morgan. We knew how important it was to him. So I'm glad they keep coming back to it, but I'm ready to say goodbye to the stick too at this point.
Yep.
And I'm happy that, we're going to go to the power plant, which I did think was going to happen. And I don't know, Grace, I guess, has to die this season because there's no point in keeping her around to just die of
radiation.
Radiation poisoning.
And I mean, I think that's where we're going. I mean, basically where she is going off to basically try to at least buy them time. And she basically says that like a meltdown is imminent, but with this handy generator, she's going to be able to hopefully hold it off and buy them a little time to maybe get out of the area. And that's sort of the whole deal, is that she basically isn't going to she tricks Morgan, and is like, I don't want you to risk your life, and kind of goes on. So I think we'll see more of that. And I love that actor, so I'm kind of bummed out that this is such a...
They introduced her with a ticking clock.
Yeah, but what can you do? And, all right.
We also have John and...
I was about to say.
Yeah, and this kind of sucked. I mean,
it does.
I don't mean that like in a bad writing way. I mean, it was a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dwight and John are out looking for Sherry, which is nice of John to commit himself to this. But, it's also like hey, this is a new guy in our group. Let's work on him a bit. And so it makes sense.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, this is right up John's alley. He's been on a journey of like this on his own. So I think it makes sense for them to do that. It's a
storyline I think we're both interested in seeing played out. But then I was disappointed by the way it got played out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's legit. It's fair the way that they decided to write this. It's just sad.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, they get back on the trail of Sherry, and there's a few different points of this, but ultimately what happens is that John finds sort of, I guess I would say, the last note from Sherry, basically telling Dwight to stop searching for her. And
I mean, it might be the last note from Sherry.
It might be. I mean, I feel like obviously it may not be. Because I think we got to come, but basically John just can't bring himself to tell Dwight about it, because I think he knows that Dwight will lose hope if that happens. So it's a hard thing, because it's like, I get why he doesn't do it, but you also feel like Dwight deserves to know, like, this is his wife. And that's a very hard thing. I don't know. What was your take on it?
I mean, you did just have a scene of Dwight sitting in a van surrounded by zombies, ready to eat a bullet because he was ready to give up on his search, right? So maybe that's, I assume, what John is like.
Oh yeah, that's informing what John's doing here, and I don't think he's doing this in any. I think this is all definitely he's trying to help, but it's just a hard thing.
Yeah, this is the happiest he's seen Dwight, although Dwight should be very concerned about why there's no sign of his wife at the place they end up at, and there's food and supplies.
Right.
Who just leaves their campsite behind? And if we take the letter at its face value, why did she leave her food and equipment behind?
Right.
It's just described. We haven't seen it. It might just have been like more than she could have carried.
Maybe, but it was agreed. There's something mysterious there. But I like Dwight in the show. I like his interaction with John. They build him a little bit more into the series, which I thought was nice. Dwight into the group. So I guess we'll have to see what happens there, but it's definitely not happy at this point. So, or at least it doesn't feel happy.
No, so we'll see where that storyline goes, if anywhere, next. But I think we're probably going to be at the power plant.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Luciana is like the children whisperer, as is
everything's okay June. Everything's okay as long as they're quoting The Little Prince, right? Right.
Yeah, and June is giving little like inspirational speeches to Annie, saying like, "I used to like to run away too, but didn't do it on a twisted ankle," and blah blah. Yeah. They're trying to lay the groundwork to get these kids to
be on their own,
and yet the kids are just not having it. And Annie eventually leads them all away just in time to miss Strand and Charlie's magnificent entrance, albeit very unrealistic. I mean, that's not unrealistic. It's just Have you ever been on a hot air balloon, AJ?
Yeah, and they're freaking really hard to control. And how does Strand know how to control one? Like, this is just nuts. Sorry.
Well, the control is easy. It's up, down. The hard part is the wind.
Yes, there's up and down, but like the fact that there's just, I feel like, again, somewhat implausible that they would be able to end even in the general area that they were aiming for. But okay, we'll give it to the show.
They also have like really variable performance based on the air temperature, and like even here, there are a lot of hot air balloons that fly around where I live, where there's low relative humidity and cold temperatures in the morning, like 50 degrees in the morning during the summer, right? And that's when you see hot air balloons flying.
Yep.
And they don't fly very well when it's hot out. And so I don't know what time of year it is in the show. It's not really clear. But it's been, I don't know, like, yeah, you take off in that thing from wherever they're starting, wherever Salazar's compound is, or the brewery or wherever, and there's no way of knowing where you're going to end up. And I've spent some time in a hot air balloon just floating up and down over a vineyard because there was no wind. Also, I've seen a hot air balloon come down on the freeway in traffic. And did you see that video of a hot air balloon at a festival in, like, Missouri?
The one
a few weeks ago. It was just going through the crowd and knocking people over, kids and
No,
adults.
I did not. But I'm not shocked. They're hard to control.
Well, I mean, to their credit, they make it hard to control in this too. Like they run out of gas and they just start to plummet.
And they do end up in a field of radioactive walkers. So hey, I guess they didn't end up exactly where they want to be.
And walkers all wearing dosimeter, or a lot of them are wearing dosimeters. At least they got via walkie the knowledge that they're not supposed to kill them. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's a very implausible form of transportation, but I guess it got them over that mountain, which is all they needed, right? And they have the propellers now, so.
Right. Which, we're gonna have to probably this little cliffhanger will be addressed, I suspect, and I think you're right. I think that the next episode probably will be mainly in at the reactor, at the plant. So, but it's. Out of the two episodes, shockingly, I agree with you that the first one is less annoying to me than the second one, mainly because of the implausible mechanical things that they do. But now that, sort of knowing what the building up of the stuff between the kids, I mean, I think we're seeing that this is where they're kind of laying the ground for the spinoff. So, I don't know.
We'll see. They're going to do something completely
different.
I hope it's set in a different country, but I don't think that it is. Those three Americans, I'm pretty sure they just cast.
Well, I'm just kind of like, look, they're showing like a band of kids that's surviving. So, I mean, I think kind of that's what I'm getting at, is that it's, that is a plausible thing that they're going to do this. So we'll see what happens. But that's pretty much it for these two episodes. Anything else to add?
I don't.
Other than not,
so.
I mean, the moral of the story is do not tell lesbian secrets.
That's so harsh. No, we can't say that. We can't say that.
I'm just saying, it's a weird thing to like
I was
repeat.
the one who connected those dots, but I feel like it's kind of a dick move on the part of the showrunners.
Right. Like, well, I guess it remains to be seen because, but I just feel like it's an odd theme to repeat.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Oh, speaking of repeated themes, last season, remember, after the big storm, there were all the high floodwaters that were keeping people separated and separating the... And this season, it feels like they're using just roads that are out that we haven't actually seen them.
Right.
So that's what is creating this geographical isolation between the two parts of the cast. So it's kind of odd / interesting that they're coming back to that mechanic as far as storytelling goes. That they're just like, oh, now you're in a isolated area and you'll have to use your wits to get out. Also, why did they bring their airplane to a gas station? Shouldn't they have taken it to an airstrip?
Probably.
Just little questions that I have floating around in my dome.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. So, hey, zombie fans, thanks for listening. We are going to take another couple weeks here to accommodate summer travels, and then come back and finish out the last two episodes of Fear the Walking Dead Season 5A. And when we come back, and we'll have that just at the end of the month here in July. So I hope everybody's stay cool, have a great summer, as you might write in somebody's yearbook. And we'll be back. So thanks for listening. Oh, wait. I guess if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that. You probably know how. reanimatedpodcast@gmail.com. Reanimatedpcast on Twitter And reanimatedpodcast.com is where our website lives.
That was very efficient and fast, and you didn't mess up like I always do. So well done. Well done, Stuart. But until next time, thank you again for listening, and ciao.
Thanks. Bye.